Teaching is one of the most rewarding professions I've ever had the pleasure and honor of working in. But it can also kill you if you let it.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Game Plan Educational Solutions. I'm Cecilia Temes, and I've been an educator for the past decade.
In this channel, I share effective, engaging, and efficient strategies for teaching social studies. If you're interested in those topics, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button so that you know exactly when our new video drops. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 actionable tips so that you can actually work less without sacrificing your efficiency and avoid teacher burnout. If you are ready for more work-life integration, but you have absolutely no clue where to start, I cordially invite you to click the link below where it says Teach Like an Influencer so that you can check out some of the customized solutions, outsourcing options, and support that I offer stressed but passionate educators like you. So in order to know the keys to preventing and staying out of this teacher burnout cycle, we got to understand where and what myths are feeding into this idea that we have to constantly be working 24/7. So, I've heard the term work-life balance being thrown around quite liberally. And from my own experience, I feel like the more I heard about that word and the more that I aspired to it, the more challenging and unrealistic it felt for me to ever acquire it. And that is merely because if a person has ever taught a day in their life, you know that in teaching, there is always something to do. You will never not have something to do. And so when we talk about work-life balance, you're putting this unrealistic pressure on yourself to where, if I work like a crap ton, then I need to be having like a crap ton of fun as well so that things can be balanced. Conversely, if you're having way too much fun, you start to feel guilty that you're not working just as hard as the amount of fun you're having. So I feel like it's like this toxic definition that just makes some sort of peace between both aspects of our life just so unreachable. More than anything, it's understanding that our passion for teaching and time for ourselves can actually go hand in hand, and we don't have to feel guilty about balancing it out or comparing ourselves to what somebody else might be doing. If we understand and creating space for our own personal freedoms and aspirations in that sense, then we don't have that unrealistic pressure of creating a perfect balance. With some careful planning, some clarity, and some outsourcing, you can actually get off that constant hamster wheel of having to do everything and be like on turbo 24/7, because that's what causes our burnout. Okay, so the first thing to actually work less and avoid burnout is organize your workflow. I can't stress this enough. The urgency that is sometimes created, unfortunately, comes from our lack of planning sometimes. So if we know that we have deadlines coming up, if we know that we have to keep up with grades, there are some things that we know in the teaching profession are like due every so often, and they have a regularly scheduled date for happening. Other things are urgent paperwork and it just comes up out of the blue. And so in order to actually buy us some time to breathe and not feel that draining urgency and stress that comes with not having enough time, we need to plan ahead. Some suggestions, aside from organizing your workflow, we want to make sure that we have clarity and that we create boundaries. And again, by organizing your workflow, you'll have clarity about what's coming up, and you're also going to create a boundary of, on this day I'm doing this, etc. So you might want to designate certain days of the week for certain tasks. With me, it was always like if we did an assignment, I would have a 1 to 2 day turnaround for grading. Now I know that given the circumstances of our constantly fluctuating educational environment right now, that may not be feasible, but you might say, okay, every day I'm going to do 20 minutes of grading. Okay. So that by the end of the week, whatever we did this week, I'll have it done. Or you might also, something that I highly, highly suggest is actually organizing when each class will have an assignment due so that you're not swamped with 150 papers or assignments to grade the same day or throughout the week. I would say, on Monday, first and second period are due Tuesday, third and fourth period are due or whatever. That way I know that I only have to worry about those class periods on that day. Same thing for anything else coming up. On Fridays, I do lesson plans so that everything's ready on Monday. So every Friday, I know that's on my list. So by creating a workflow for myself, I'm giving myself clarity. I know what's coming up. I know what I'm expecting, so that if I do get a curveball, I'm able to maneuver my way around that. And also, I create boundaries. If something comes up that's not really urgent, or if I'm just making it urgent, right? Because teachers are natural empaths. But if something comes up and that is going to deprive me of, being on pace with something that I know I need to do for my own well-being, I'm more easily able to say no to that last minute fake emergency that I'm accepting to take on. So again, it does help us create those boundaries. You might also consider breaking up tasks into chunks. Like I mentioned before, sometimes when we get to grading, especially since we're teaching online, some of us, it's just overwhelming to think about, like, I gotta open the page and then I gotta go back to the other one and I gotta transfer the grade. Well, maybe on one day, all you do is maybe like fish for all the scores and print them out, or, put them on a spreadsheet. And then the next day, you're just gonna transfer. And then maybe one day, you're just finalizing them. So if you break up the actual tasks itself into segments, that's another suggestion that might help make your burden a lot lighter, because you realize, hey, all I got to do today is open the tab for first and second. It's way less overwhelming to think about that than to say, I got to grade 150 assignments today. Could we say anxiety? Also, when we don't have clarity, we block our own productivity because we feel like we're not sure what needs to get done first. We don't know what is going to move the needle for us most, what's going to keep us feeling motivated, and what's going to help us feel like we're on fleek and we're getting stuff done. So it's important that we again, map out and plan out what's going down so that we have that clarity. So again, organize your workflow. Okay, so tip number 2, outsource and leverage help. Now, this is one thing that I'm gonna be honest with you, but a lot of teachers have reservations about this because they're afraid of the judgment that comes with outsourcing. And I gotta tell you, y'all don't know this, and maybe you haven't heard of this, but some of us do this without realizing we do it. Some of us do this conscientiously, and some of us do this very purposefully so that we can have time and do what we wanna do with our time. So this is what I meant when I mentioned that some of us do this unknowingly. But anytime you have an office helper, or you have that one reliable student that can help you grade, or maybe you grade during the class period, this is a way to leverage help. I can tell you personally that pretty much after my 3rd year teaching, when I started to really getting the groove of organizing my workflow, I had the students actually grade their assignments. And FYI, no, we're not violating FERPA because they don't have access to my actual permanent gradebook record. This is just instant feedback. The assignment's already graded. Hi, all you have to do is punch the grades in. So please don't feel that because you're the teacher, you have to do everything yourself. That is unrealistic and unhealthy. If you need to do something like laminate, if you invest the time to teach the kids how to do it right one time, you will save yourself having to do all those trips, make all those trips to the laminating machine and cutting everything out and, doing things that are not really going to move the needle for you stress-wise. If you have kids and if they're willing to for, snack money or whatever, bring your laminated roll home, have them cut it out. I can't tell you, teaching is a team sport. You cannot do this and survive this alone. Okay, you need your helpers, you need to outsource. If you don't have that availability, I can tell you that there are plenty of resources available for teachers and pre-made lessons for teachers that'll shave off a huge chunk of time on your to-do list. Literally, all you have to do is figure out how you're going to make this lesson work for you, but the lesson's already done in order to shave off some time and some of the items that are non-essentials from our to-do list. We have to make peace with the fact that we do not need to do everything, okay? We got to get out of the DIY mindset because it's toxic and we see what it does to us, and we have to outsource. We got to find resources that are already made for us, and we have to leverage that because that is ultimately going to give you that personal freedom and that time and that rest and that recharge that you need. Okay, the 3rd key, and this one is so crucial, and I'm telling you this from a place of tough love and a place of care and a place from a person who lived through this. Please, you gotta let go of perfectionism and you got to think of long-term returns. So for example, you have to be able to learn to say this awesome word that teachers need to say more often, and the word is no. I'm not saying don't do something if you really want to do it. If you really want to chaperone that school dance and you feel like that's not going to cause you additional stress and anxiety, if you really want to coach a UIL team, go for it, because even though it's a school-sponsored event, that's creating balance to your life because that's something you want to do. That's integrating your passion for school and something that you'll enjoy, that'll give you pleasure. But if it's something that you know is just going to cause more stress, if you feel like it's going to push you back on the things that you know you really need to get done right now in order to feel good and be good, right? Because sometimes self-care is just getting stuff off our list, then we need to learn how to say no. Think about prioritizing only what's on your list, okay? And if we plan ahead and around, we have some space to say yes to things that we're passionate about, and only that. The second thing to think about is, are you being extra? Okay, now tell the truth. You have to be able to admit to yourself, okay, am I just trying to like Pinterest this up, or does it really need to be like perfect? Example, sometimes you wake up one morning, you're in the shower, you're lesson planning, right? And then you're like, ooh, I can do this, right? And so you are speeding through school, you skip your coffee, you don't even have breakfast, and you're at the laminating machine, trying to get all these manipulatives ready to go. Sometimes you just gotta wing it and figure out, how can I do this as easily as possible? How can I choose the path of least resistance right now? I can always go back and laminate it later, or I can have one of my students laminate and cut this for me. Like, it's not essential right now. In one day of school, like, it'll be fine. So you have to be honest with yourself, whether you're being extra, you have to think in terms of what is the more practical thing for me to do that doesn't require me to sacrifice my sanity. And the third one, because this is a really hot topic lately, please do not feel compelled to grade every single thing. We need to be selective about what will provide our students the best, most important, and most effective feedback. So for example, like tests and projects, usually those are givens that both students and parents are anxious to know about and want to know about and expect some feedback for. But if it's some random little pop quiz or you're having them do some little activity, please don't feel like you have to grade everything, because then you want to make sure that overbooking yourself with things to do does not destroy the confidence you have in yourself and your ability. Typically, when you feel like you're not doing a good job, or you feel like, you're not doing the best you can, even when you know you're doing the best you can, is because you are taking on some things that you don't really need to be doing. And the thing is, in this profession, things get dumped on our plate all the time. So we may not have control about what gets dumped on our plate, but we do have control about where we schedule it, how we prioritize it, and if it's not urgent to worry about it, if it's not going to be for a grade, if I'm not going to be evaluated on this, if it's nothing you need to stress about and you're just trying to fit it all in to be super stellar, let that go. Okay, I'm telling you this with some tough love because I care about you all. My mom was a teacher, I was a teacher, and I want to make sure that we keep amazing and passionate teachers in this profession for the long haul. If you enjoyed this video, you're also probably going to like a video that I have about what makes teachers really tired and how you can stop running yourself ragged by facilitating more than just merely teaching. And I'll go ahead and link that video up above and down below for you to check it out as soon as this video is done. I hope that after this video, you take some time to unplug, plan, prioritize, outsource, and get clarity on what really matters to you so that you can have amazing work-life integration. As always, I wish you an amazing day. Until next time, class dismissed.